Takes about 15 seconds, so oh my god, that is hot. Hi, my name's Ashley. I'm an addictions counsellor. I also specialise in trauma, and I've also overcame addiction, so I'm here just doing a little online support group, just an online chat to support people in addiction. And I'm not just limiting it to addiction, I'm also open to talking about mental health and just any issues, because as I always say, addiction is the symptom, it's self-medicating another problem. So while I'm waiting for some people to join, I'm just gonna natter on about a little topic. So today I was want to talk on, that doesn't make sense. It is late, cut myself some slack, and the zero viewer, I'm sure you'll cut me slack too. The topic I'm going to talk about today is about anxiety and addiction. So originally what happens is a lot of us have anxiety, and I think, well, everybody has anxiety. Let's be real, everybody has anxiety. Is a normal response to perceived threats or legit threats. But we have anxiety, and then what happens is we engage in whatever addictive behavior is or substance, and it soothes the anxiety at first. I'm like, wow, I don't feel anxious in groups. I don't feel anxious when I don't know, doing something, just socializing. So that the addiction itself soothes the anxiety. However, there's a flaw in the plan. The addiction doesn't continuously soothe the anxiety, because what happens is when we are engaged in the addictive substance, we get dopamine. Great. We all love a bit of dopamine. It's what motivates us to do everything. It motivates every animal. However, what also happens is when the dopamine runs out, we start to feel a bit flat. And then cortisol rises, and cortisol is what we produce when we have anxiety. So I think anxiety is a good topic to natter on about in relation to addiction, because it is better to get better coping mechanisms for it. Addictive substances do not work in the long term. So what can we do about anxiety? First of all, if we don't know, we can learn what anxiety is. So anxiety is a response that happens in our brain. It's a physiological response to a threatening stimuli, something that is threatening, or in the 21st century, because originally it's meant to protect us from predators, and we are top of the food chain and goers, smashing it. And so we don't really have many predators, other than not nice people. So what happens is we get the same response to perceived threats. So for instance, getting an email from the boss, we're like, poop, anxiety goes up. Perceived threat, what is that going to be about? But we also might find certain situations threatening, and this is where addiction comes into it. So a lot of people that I work with find that addiction, we might get drunk or we might take drugs because we feel more confident in social situations. So the perceived threat is that I am feeling unsafe in social situations. I'm going to embarrass myself, or I don't know what to say. So we lean into alcohol or drugs so that we can fit in, because it feels like a threat to our nervous system. Even if we don't think it's a threat, our nervous system is thinking it's a threat. Or maybe it's relationships. So maybe we have relationships which are built on a buzz because it makes us feel a little bit more secure. I know I'm certainly somebody who's done this, definitely, where I go out on dates and get to know somebody and I'm drinking every date. So it feels like it's helping with the anxiety, but actually it ends up causing more anxiety, because then we get flooded with cortisol. And when we have anxiety, cortisol, which is a stress hormone, is very much present. So anxiety is something that's meant to keep us safe. The feeling of anxiety, and it's quite similar to a craving, by the way, because we're anxiously needing that craving. We feel like if we do not get that craving, we're going to feel like rubbish. So it's very similar to a craving, but Anxiety is where we get all, and I know people know what anxiety is, but I'm trying to explain the physiological bits of it. But we start to feel short of breath, and we feel our thoughts are racing, sweaty palms, all this, and it's because our bodies are getting ready to fight or flight. So again, having some kind of substance can soothe that anxiety, or even it doesn't need to be alcohol or drugs. It can be we're stressed, our anxiety levels are through the roof, so we go scrolling on social media, or we have a tab, which is a cigarette if you're not Geordie, or a vape because it calms our anxiety. But actually what's happening is, yes, it does calm it in the first instant, but it actually makes us feel worse after. And then on top of that, we'll have the anxiety of addiction, which can be spending lots of money that we don't have, or it can be the shame that we're doing something that we don't want to be doing. So yeah, so what is anxiety? Anxiety, and I'm talking about this because I'm going to give you some tips which can help you. And as I said, cravings is anxiety. We're anxiously needing, like desperately needing whatever it is that we're trying to abstain from. So hopefully these tips are going to help, so bear with. Also, hello to the people watching. If you have any questions around addiction, recovery, or mental health, drop us a message. I'll be happy to help. But if not, I'm just going to keep nattering. So if we think about anxiety, if we think about it as our body's accelerator, so like I said, we're getting ready to fight or flight, or we might freeze or fawn, but we're going to talk about fight or flight because they're the main responses. So we're getting ready to fight or flight, so that's our body's accelerators. And what we need to do is we need to activate our body's brakes. And again, this is applicable in cravings when we're experiencing craving anxiety. So how do we activate our body's brakes? So the best way is breathing, first of all. And I know breathing sounds really mediocre as a counseling technique, because I remember thinking that, why am I getting taught to teach my clients to breathe? Every bloody person on the planet breathes. You know, we are like breatharians, let's be real. It's our main source of what we're doing, our main intake. So why breathing? Well, breathing, it's basically stops the process of adrenaline, cortisol, all these different things flooding our nervous system. So it literally does activate the brakes. Now, breathing is very important to be, what's the word? It's very important to be particular about your breathing, because when we're in a state of anxiety or we're needing that craving, our breath gets shallow and fast. You know, you get out of breath, or a panic attack is extreme version of that. So what we need to do is the opposite of that. So we need to slow our breath down. And if that's the only thing you do, that is winning. But ideally, you want to breathe out longer than you're breathing in. So if you think babies do this, you see them, they go, when they've been having a huge crisis and over God knows what, spilled milk, shall we say, and they start to do this little double intake and then a long out breath. So you can actually do that, what babies do, 2 little intakes and 1 long outtake. I'm tired, just bear with. But just breathing in for say 5 seconds and breathing out for 7 seconds. Ideally, you breathe in for 7 seconds, hold your breath, and then breathe out for 9 seconds. But if we're talking about addiction, you might be a smoker or your lungs might not be good, so you can do less. But the main point is breathe out more than what you're breathing in. Another thing, and again, this is helpful for addiction, even though it's around anxiety, is a biofeedback loop. And what I mean by that, because that is jargon, is when we're anxious, it tells our body, get ready for fight or flight. And the body kind of listens to the brain. But you can get your brain to tell your body to tell your brain what to do. And that looks like opening up your shoulders, relaxing your jaw, good posture. And it sends a signal to your brain that we're safe, we're relaxed. So just try and relax your body, but not in a meek way, but in a relaxed, confident way. And that will help with your anxiety. And if you practice this as well, then you are continuously telling your brain, we are safe. We do not need to be freaking out. Now, how does that relate to addiction? When we have addiction, one of the things that we start to do is rack up shame. We start to rack up these little internal failures. Like we say we're going to stop tomorrow and we don't stop tomorrow. So we start to feel rubbish about ourselves. Hi, Emu. If anyone wants to jump in and make a comment, please do, because I'm just monologuing at the moment. But hi to the people who are watching. What was I saying? Oh yeah, we're racking up these little failures. I'm doing air quotes here because we're not failing. Like, let's be real. And addiction, and I will argue this to the death with everyone, is not a choice. It is something that we are susceptible to for various reasons. But we start to rack up this shame and we start to feel rubbish about ourselves. And what starts to happen is our bodies, because it's a biofeedback loop, our brains are saying you are rubbish, you are failing, you shame. If you've watched Game of Thrones. And we start to like concave and our body starts to reflect how we feel. So if we can start to work on our posture, one which is intentionally confident, then we start to tell our brain, okay, we are confident, and confidence links in with self-worth and self-esteem. And self-esteem and self-confidence is the opposite to shame. The nose ring theory. I actually got my nose ring when I was having a psychotic episode. I got my nose pierced. But I don't know what the nose ring theory is. Please do tell us. I feel like you might be taking the mic, but I also don't get things sometimes with my new, more spicy brain. So talking about self-worth and self-confidence, so we can do physical things. We always talk about self-esteem by telling ourselves positive things, loving ourselves, but we can literally just do something as simple as opening up our posture, slowing down how we're talking, and acting confident. Now, people say fake it till you make it. I don't think that works, because if we don't believe it, it's just like, you can tell me that my hair's blonde, it's not going to register because I know it's ginger. But we can fake it until we make it with our bodies, and we can start to just tell our brain a message that we are safe and we are confident. And that is the signature of self-esteem, feeling confident in yourself. No CWAG is saying the nose ring theory in America is basically saying everyone with nose rings basically acts the same. Potentially. I'm not an American though, so how do I act all new wave? Hippie. Well, I wasn't acting the same when I got my nose pierced. I was absolutely on planet bonkers because I was having a psychotic episode. I don't think I'm the same as everybody either. I'm quite a unique little character over here. But hi, I see other people have joined. So self-esteem is really important when we're looking at addiction recovery. And I think we need to start counteracting how we're feeling when we're engaging in that addictive behavior, because it starts to erode our self-confidence. We lose confidence in our ability to trust ourselves. We lose confidence in ourselves in the sense that, for me, I just felt like I'm living a life I don't want to, and I feel powerless, and that wasn't really great for my confidence. So it's really important to start to build your confidence, and we can do that through, like I said, posture, but we can do it in other ways as well. Let's see what people are saying. As an addict, I always need to keep going from addiction to addiction, so I try to be addicted to healthy things. Yeah, definitely. And the thing is, you're addicted to dopamine, and if you can get a healthy hit of dopamine, like Sergi says, that is the way forward. Somebody was sat in Greggs, which, if you're not from England, you may not know what this is. I don't know how widespread it is, but Greggs is this pasty shop. It's just everywhere. We have a 24-hour one in Newcastle. But anyways, I diverge. I was in Greggs and there was someone next to us who had overcame addiction, and he was doing lectures in universities. And he said that if you think about addiction like a brick wall, And if you take all these bricks out, which have been supporting you, the wall can collapse. So we need to replace those bricks. We need to get a new foundation. So as Sergi said, healthy addictions are the way forward. Because the thing is, we're addicted to dopamine. And as all humans and animals need dopamine, it's a motivating chemical in us. So it basically rewards good behaviors, things that it rewards pleasure and pursuit. So when we're getting pleasure from negative addictions, it's our body's doing the right thing. But if we can make the thing that we get dopamine from healthy and productive, then brilliant, because we're all addicted to dopamine. The problem is, in the 21st century, life is so comfortable. So dopamine's supposed to motivate us to get berries because they're scarce, or it's supposed to motivate us to hunt to get food because it's meant to be hard to get. In the 21st century, we have food in abundance, too much food. I'm talking about the West here. Let's make that distinction. So we're getting a much higher amount of dopamine than what we're supposed to get. And we're also getting it from sources which are giving us a lot more dopamine than we're meant to get. So alcohol, drugs. So we need to do things that give us dopamine. So I agree. Go for healthy addictions, because our brains are designed to drive us towards things that bring us pleasure. So find good, pleasurable things. All right, I'm going to go through the comments. What was my addiction? My main one, like the one that I was creeped the hell out of, that is an understatement. I was scared to bloody death because I just didn't know if I was going to get out of it. I genuinely was knee deep in it, was ketamine. I don't know if that's something that's big outside of the UK. I know there's a lot of drugs in the US which are different to the drugs in the UK. But ketamine is a sedative, and so I was really addicted to that, heavily, to the point where I was like screwing up my bladder. I was like, it wasn't good. I was pregnant. I relapsed in my pregnancy and stuff, so that was my worst addiction. I've been addicted to mind-altering substances, and that was basically what I mean by that, is that I was just on planet off my nut for the whole of my 20s, early 30s. Sugar is a massive one, and I'd say the one thing that I'm really not alcohol in and out of, not major. I wouldn't say I've had an addiction. Weed in and out of, but I don't even like weed. I don't know why I even did that, to be honest. It's like what Sergi said, just addicted. Just addicted. So now I have healthy addictions. Still vape. I will hold my hands up because we need to be real. It's like she says weed. What do you mean it's like she says weed? England, dang, I thought you were Irish. No, English. Where are you from, Seawag? Where is everyone from? That's on point. What did you say? I don't know what you're saying's on point, but thank you. I love your accent. Thank you, St. Jason. Geordie, but I've got like a posh-ish twang to it. Poison, sure. Seawag, I'm paranoid constantly as fuck. Would you like some support on that, Seawag? Because I'm helping people with addiction. Oh, by the way, can I just say, because I noticed I'm nearly hitting my limit of how many people I can have on a live at the moment. So I need to get to 1,000 subscribers to open it out. If anyone who's watching, if you could give us a subscribe, it would help us reach more people, because I'm just about to hit the limit of people I can have on the live. Obviously you don't have to, but that would be helpful. But yeah, Seawag, if you'd like some help, be a bit more specific, and if anybody wants support with anything, it's an addiction support that I'm doing. But I'm a therapist. I've dealt with all issues. And the thing with addiction, I say it all the time, is we're self-medicating, something going on underneath. So I'm open to talk about anything that might be helpful. I just need a bit more context, that's all. Because paranoid's quite broad. Sir Ricky MCD, you're beautiful, thank you. Hi, I don't know how to say your name, but the one putting the wavy hands. Hello. Siwa ketamine, yeah, it hit the USA. They mixed it with fentanyl. God, that's brutal. And the homeless pass out standing, they wake up crippled. It's so sad. Fentanyl is brutal. So I don't think I'm going to be careful here. I don't think fentanyl is a big addiction in the UK, but I could be wrong. So one thing I've never done is hard drugs. The girl who I do, and by hard drugs I mean crack cocaine, heroin, fentanyl would be in that category. The girl who I do the podcast with called Sunday Service of Addiction, which is on a Sunday on YouTube. You're welcome to join. Anyone, it's a live podcast, but we do a Q&A throughout. As long it's just we only answer questions related to addiction, but she's overcame an addiction to hard drugs, but because I'm not in that circle, I can't say fentanyl for certain if it's a big addiction over in the UK, but I haven't heard of it, and I've worked with addictions as a counsellor. It's not something I've actually had fentanyl though. When I had an operation, I had a molar pregnancy, which is a little bit like it's not like a miscarriage, but it's in that category. It's a non-viable pregnancy, and they gave us fentanyl, and I was off my bonnet. So mixing that with ketamine, whew, that sounds naughty. Very, very sad, I agree. I just think addiction in general is really sad. And one of my main things that I want to achieve in going online is breaking down the stigma. And, I know I'm not going to be able to do that properly, but I certainly want to have a stab at trying to do that. How did I get clean, Steph? So I always say this, so sorry if somebody's already been on the live and I sound like I'm repeating myself. So I was training to be an addictions therapist before I actually developed addiction. So I've already said I was not sober for, I don't think one single day. I can't recall one day that I was sober in my 20s and early 30s. But when I developed an addiction, which was to ketamine, I already knew a lot of stuff about how to typically get off addiction. So I'd learned a lot. The most therapists and addiction services use, I knew it all inside out. None of it worked. It just did not work, and I couldn't understand it. And what I came to learn is that all the tips and tricks in the world, you can know them all. I knew a lot, but you need to love yourself. And I know that sounds so lame, like love yourself, but you really do. It's an inside job. You need to just start to do little things to love yourself, because let's be real, if we're struggling in addiction, or we're struggling to stay in sustainable recovery, like aka we keep relapsing like I did, we're not loving ourselves enough. Like we need to make our life so much worthwhile and something that we love, that is bigger and better than the addiction. So you could not pay me now to go back to being a ket addict, absolutely not, or any kind of drug addict. You just couldn't. So I know that's a really broad question, a broad answer. Just love yourself. Like, oh great, Ashley, like I'll just go do that. So I'll try and give you some tips around that. I just wanted to explain why you have to love yourself. But it just started off little things. So there's a type of therapy called CBT, which stands for cognitive behavioral therapy. And the premise around it is that you change your thoughts. If you change your thoughts, then your beliefs. So if you change your belief, then your thoughts will change. And if you change your thoughts, then your actions will change. So if we think about beliefs, what is a belief? So growing up, we might believe that I don't deserve loving relationships. I don't deserve people who love me for me. So then I might behave in a different way, and then I don't really feel like I'm loved because people are loving this fake version of myself that I'm presenting. And we then start attracting unhealthy relationships, and all of these different things then lead us to think, okay, well, the addiction feels good because I've got unhealthy relationships. I don't love myself. I've got this belief that I don't deserve love. So I'm going to do things like have drugs and alcohol to make me feel good because I just don't feel good. And I'm not deserving. So just start to change that belief. And how do we change that belief? We just sit there and we can start to think about, okay, what is it that I love about myself? If my best friend or somebody who cares about us was sitting in front of us and I asked them, what do you love about us? What would they say? Or even ask people who love you, what would they say? So for me, it's kind, empathetic, a big heart, and start to double down on it, start to remind yourself. So that's just like it's a really broad thing. I've tried to give you a couple of tips, but how did I get clean? I started loving myself. I always say I got sober before I got sober because I started to just learn to love myself. And that was doing nice things to myself. It was doing a stock check of the people in my life, or the people who in my life, the people I would have in my life if I loved myself, or the knobheads. If the knobheads, like, get rid, or put in boundaries. So that was quite a hard question to answer. I hope I did semi-okay. I'm from Georgia, USA. I've never been to the US. I'd love to go. What's Georgia like? Is it nice? Oh, I subscribed and like, thank you. That's honestly so helpful. Sparkling Night TV, how are you doing, Harish? From Bangalore, India. I love your work. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I've just started out on YouTube, so it's good to get good feedback. I've never been to India either. I'd love to go. Honestly, I just want to travel the world. You said we had it easy. I said I'm paranoid. It's lacking. Oh, Sewag, I'm so sorry. Oh, do you mean you're paranoid? Sorry, I've just read, so Sewag say my mum's a therapist too. I don't trust them. You don't trust therapists? Yeah, the thing with therapists, and like, I am a therapist, but I try to be real where I can be, is therapy serves a purpose. But one, a lot of therapists are not helpful. One of the reasons why a lot of therapists get into therapy, and I'll hold my hand up as well, is because it's a need to help other people, because secretly we need helping ourselves. Like, we want to save the world because realistically we're dying to be saved. So a lot of therapists are traumatized, or maybe they go into therapy because they've been through something hard and they've overcame it and they want to help people. But a lot of therapists are traumatized themselves. And one of the big things with being, and that's not all, I'm not saying your mom's like this, I'm not saying all, but I'm just saying with therapists, it's hard to get a good therapist, is the point I'm trying to make. But one of the big things with being a therapist is you're supposed to do a lot of inner work. And I'm still doing that, I'm still doing that inner work. But I think, looking back on my career, I was probably a very bad therapist to begin with. I was thinking, I'm healed, I'm the expert, you're not. And that is not a good mindset to have. So that's therapists themselves. Obviously, there are some fantastic therapists out there. I have worked with some, and I like to think I'm a good therapist now. I've done a lot of inner work. The other thing with therapy is it depends what type of therapy. There's lots of types of therapy. Some work for some don't. And the other thing with therapy is it's good to talk about things. So a lot of therapies focus on talking about things, but I don't think that's enough. And again, it's like going back to healing my own addiction. I knew all the techniques I'd read all the research. I've got a master's in addiction. I've got a degree which specialised in addiction, and I've done loads of extra courses. None of it worked. And I had the same thing with myself. I've got a lot of trauma, PTSD from different events which have happened in my life and things. And the therapy wasn't working. And I'm like, I'm a therapist and it's not working. Why is it not? That's not really giving me much confidence to work with my clients. It worked enough to the point where I got to a place where I could love myself. And I think that's what therapy is good at. It helps you learn how to love yourself and gives you the tools to help you on your journey. But I think with anything, addiction, trauma, anything, we need to attack it from all angles. And that looks like we need healthy connections in our life. We need to be looking after our bodies. We need to do somatic healing. So it's all well and good looking at why you're anxious, but you need to learn actual things to stop you from being anxious. So usually it's not just going to see a therapist for 6 sessions, which is typical in the UK. You need a lot of different things. Right, I feel like I've got a lot of comments, so I'm just going to go through. I'll try not give such big answers. How did you get into being a therapist? I think I've just answered that. I was saying I was traumatized. I got into therapy by accident. I'm ADHD, and I wanted to be a teacher, and I picked 4 universities to do teaching. And in the UK, you have to apply for 5 universities, and I put a 5th one on, which was in my hometown, which I didn't want to do, and it was just to fill up the spot. And it was in childhood studies and counselling. I barely even looked at what the degree was because I really wanted to move away from my hometown. It was city. And because I'm ADHD, I accidentally clicked on the wrong university, and the only university which I didn't want to go to, and the only one which had counselling in it, and I just fell into it. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. But then Sharp found out that I probably loved it because I was traumatized myself and just unaware. So yeah, been on a journey. Yeah, Georgia has the best people in the world. I love that. I think Newcastle's got where I'm from, it's a really nice, friendly place as well. John, I'm really into exhibitionism. As a therapist, is that a mental disorder? So I don't know, because a therapist doesn't diagnose. That's a psychiatrist. Different things. So people who diagnose have got a medical degree. Mine isn't medical, in medicine. My husband and I are 2 years sober as of August. Love that for you, Janelle. Love that. So good that you and your husband have done it together as well. One of the big barriers that people face in addiction is if you are in a relationship with somebody and one person wants to get sober and the other one doesn't. It's very difficult because we need to be aware of triggers, and if somebody is putting it in front of your face and you're not mentally in a place, like I said, loving yourself enough to hold that strength, it can be really dangerous. So I absolutely love, Janelle, that you and your husband have done that together. And 2 years. And after 2 years, your brain is recalibrating. For most people, your dopamine receptors are healed. So 2 years is a huge, important milestone. So love that. You have blue, beautiful eyes. I love it. Thank you. Oh, very blue. Lucky, I'm from Newcastle in the north of England. Lovely little place. CWAG, to get clean, lock yourself in a cabin with nothing but books, no electricity, no TV, no phone, nothing but food, water and books, and you'll come out smarter. I love that. And when I was first reading that comment, I was getting a bit dubious, and I don't ever want to knock what somebody has done for their sobriety, because I just think, I might be an addictions counsellor, but you know yourself best, and I'm always learning off what other people have done. But when I first started reading that, just lock yourself in a cabin, I thought, oh, I've locked myself away and it didn't work. But then I carried on reading what CWAG was saying, and you said nothing but food, water and books, you'll come out smarter. And yeah, if you are being intentional in the time by yourself, and it's like learning to love yourself or learning to love the world or connecting with stuff, you've given yourself a much better chance. The thing I will say, and why I was screwing my face up, is sometimes we can take ourselves away from our triggers. Like rehab is a perfect example of this. We can go to rehab and get sober or clean, and then we come out, and if we're immersing ourselves back into the environment and around the people that we originally participated in the addiction with, we're gonna be very ropey, and there's a good chance of relapse, not a indefinite chance of relapse, but. And I think this is one of the things that I've found with myself and other people with addiction, is sometimes we get cocky. We get to a point where we're sober and we've done so much, and we're like, oh, we're sober now, we're clean. And then we think that we can be around people, or we can be around the drug of choice or the alcohol or gambling, and we get cocky and we can fall off the wagon. So I'm not discrediting what you're saying. I think that's brilliant. Great to start. Remove yourself, detox. What I'll add to that is just be aware that when you're integrating back into your life, be aware that you're susceptible still, and put things in place. Janelle, oh, I'm sorry, I had 2 ectopic pregnancies. Didn't give me anything for pain. Had to get 3 rounds of methotrexate to end pregnancies, and it was horrible. That's when things got bad, addiction-wise. I really could understand that. I'm so sorry you went through that. I really am. Yeah, ectopic's quite similar. It's not the same as molar, but yeah, I think it's in the same bracket. And I actually was sober when I had my molar pregnancy. I'd got sober for the first time for a good amount of time, and then the first thing I did when I got out of finding out that I was having a molar pregnancy is I went home and I bought myself a massive bag of Ket and straight back into addiction. So I couldn't understand why you said that your addiction-wise got bad. Obviously, it's trauma, and this is why I always argue the case that addiction is not a choice. It derives from either undiagnosed mental health disorders or trauma, whether that's big trauma, little trauma, being sensitive to things which can feel traumatizing for the nervous system. So we might feel like we've had a good, healthy upbringing, but maybe we've got sensitive nervous systems and things have been a lot, or traumas like what Janelle's described. So yeah, I can see the link between that. I'm so sorry you went through that, and I'm so happy that you've managed to get through it. Yeah. No, we don't do drugs or drink. So thankful that we reached out when we did. Almost lost everything. Working on rebuilding ourselves, money, health, mental, physical, career, home. Janelle, can I ask you, and I'm going to try and get through these comments, there's more than usual. But Janelle, can I ask you what helped you? Like, what can you say to people who are listening that helped you? Because you've went through a really big trauma, repeated trauma. What helped you and your husband get out of it? Because I think we can learn a lot from people who've got through it. Oh, CWAG, the best way to break a habit, pick up a new one, a healthy one. If you spent as much time learning Latin as you did high or drunk, you'd know Latin. Yeah, love it. Really great advice. I started learning tarot and astrology, and I started doing it before I got sober. So that was the thing as well. By the time I got clean, thank you for the likes. I've already said this, if people are watching who wasn't before, if you could subscribe, that would really help us, because I'm trying to get to my 1,000 subscribers so I can do a bit more online. But thank you for the likes as well, pushing us out in the algorithm. It all really helps. Yeah, I didn't know who I was, so I started to get hobbies and interests before I got sober, and I really lent into them when I got sober. So if you're somebody who's listening and you're on the precipice of getting sober or clean from drugs or whatever addiction it is, and you just say, I can't stop, and you know, absolutely say seek support and you absolutely can stop. But if you just want one thing that you can start doing today, or anytime you try to stop and then you don't manage it, and instead of beating yourself up, try and find out what your passion is. Or if you've got a passion already, maybe from childhood or something you do, double down on it, get back into it, because it really does help you when you come out and you're in them early stages when dopamine's depleted, we're feeling like crap, life looks grey. Doing something you enjoy can start to bring that spark back into your life. Steph, I just want to apologise as well because there's a lot of comments and I'm taking my time to get through them, so bear with. I'm not ignoring people, I'm just going in chronological order. Makes perfect sense. Sorry for your tough past. Just listen to you. I believe you're going to help a lot of people in your life. Best of luck for your future. Thanks, Steph. I appreciate that. I'm really grateful for my past. It's made us who I am today, and I really appreciate my life now. But I really like that you've said that. I think we've all been through stuff as well, haven't we? I think there's very few human that goes through life unscathed. But I do appreciate the compassion. It's nice. And thank you for saying that. I hope to help a lot of people. I'm currently writing a book. I am 67% way through it. And it's on the links between addiction and ADHD. And it's my own theory on how to heal addiction, because I've spent a lot of years studying it and various other things. So I've spent nearly 16 years. Nearly 17 years of studying, so I've pulling it all together. So I hope I do manage to help a lot of people. But even if I just help one person, that's good enough for me. Being paranoid is fun. Well, I've got bipolar, so I've experienced not fun paranoia. Getting beamed up by aliens and thinking the lad I was dating at the time was out to get us. That wasn't so fun. But I don't know if you're being sarcastic. Could you expand on self-love more and how to retrieve it when it doesn't feel deserved? Yeah, I will. I'll just say, Janelle's, I started reading this. Janelle said, I subscribe to you. I'm Canadian. It's nice to hear how things at your end of the world are as far as addiction care. Yeah, I'll go on to that. I'm going to reply to 1337 first. So could you expand on self-love more? And the thing you've said there is how to retrieve it when it doesn't feel deserved. Good question. So one of the things with addiction, and not even just addiction, just depression or just being human, let's be real, is often we have this like love yourself, self-esteem. It's like great. If I knew how to do that, I'd be doing it. Like nobody wants to not love themselves. And so I think one of the things that we can do is take stock of, first of all, our thoughts. That's such a basic way to start. Start paying attention to the things we say to ourselves. I heard this on a Fern Cotton podcast, The Happy Place. I don't think it was her who said it, though. I think she was quoting somebody. I don't know that person. But she said we have a shitty committee in our brain. It's so true. Fire the shitty committee. Hire a positive vibe tribe. And by that what I mean is the thoughts we tell ourselves reflect how we feel about ourselves. If we are sitting there saying, oh my God, you're so stupid, why did you do that? Or God, you're so lazy. Or God, Ashley, like you've just offended that person. Like, or oh God, nobody likes you. Just really listen to them thoughts, because they are thoughts which are reflecting how much self-love you have. If you find that you've got a shitty committee, fire them. And the way to do that is remember that our brain is in autopilot. We do things automatically. They're called automatic thoughts. And if we're talking about negative thoughts in the counselling world, we call them NATs, negative automatic thoughts, NAT. And what we can do is we can change these negative automatic thoughts and think of it like I am my own best friend. Like, I'm going to love myself. I'm going to you can reparent yourself or be your own best friend. And every time you say something negative towards yourself, think about, what would I say to my best friend or my most cherished person in my life if they said that about themselves? Would you say, yeah, you are lazy? Darn tootin', lazy little bitch over there. You wouldn't. You would just say, no, you're not. You're tired. You're burnt out. You're exhausted. So start to say these things back to yourself. If you're sitting there saying like, God, what's the point of even talking? Nobody's interested in what I'm going to say. If that was your most loved person, you say, of course people are interested in what you've got to say. There's only one you. You're unique. You're important. So start to challenge things. And it's really important that we don't just say things like, no, you're not lazy. Because if you believe that you're lazy, and this is an example, obviously apply it to anything, but if you believe you're lazy, you just say, no, you're not. You're just going to think, yeah, I am. Like, it's like if people are like, manifest being rich. I believe in manifestation, but if you're just sitting there saying, I am rich, and you've got -3 pence in the bank, like, your brain's smart, it's going to be like, no, I'm not rich. I'm really not. So you need to believe it. And the way that you do that is you back it up with evidence. So if you're lazy, say, and this is an example, do it to anything, but if you're saying I'm lazy, you can sit there and say, well, what are you doing with your life? And it might be that actually I'm doing a degree. Okay, that's mentally taxing, you're not lazy. Or I'm a mum, and yeah, I'm not working at the moment, this is my life, I'm not at work, I'm a mum. But yeah, being a mum of a toddler's hard. Like, challenge these beliefs and replace them with positive self-talk, positive vibe tribe in your mind. Let's go through, because I'm sorry if I'm not getting through everyone's messages. Hi, beautiful lady, Mia Murad, thank you. CWAG, ADHD is what they label kids when they're too smart to listen to a teacher, repeat themselves year after year. Yeah, I've got ADHD. So yeah, I kind of agree with that. I do think ADHD people are very smart, and I think that classrooms aren't always the best environment for ADHD children. Some it is, all individual, but there are a lot of brain scans, and Gabor Mate talks about ADHD really well in Scattered Minds, his first book. And basically what he argues, and I fully agree with, is that when our brains are developing in an environment which is chaotic or traumatic, it isn't stable, or just even the instability and generational trauma we have societally, if we've got a sensitive mind, what happens is we start to be in a constant state of hypervigilance, like fight or flight, and our brains actually develop in that state, because whatever we're pouring into our brains while we're developing as children is how it's going to then continue to grow, and that's our brains then. So what happens is we're developing in a state of fight or flight. And that means that we're in a constant state of hypervigilance, which means we're very inattentive and we can be very hyperactive, because fight or flight is just adrenaline pumping around our bodies. We're just constantly on edge, scanning, which, so yeah, I agree with what you're saying, CWAG, but also I think it's slightly more nuanced with that than that, I would argue. But, I don't want to sit here and say that I'm the queen of ADHD and I know everything. 32 years old girls. 32. I love flirty 30s. I'm 36. I think I'm addicted. What? Oh God, I'm dyslexic. Edgiest fate. I think I'm addicted. What do you think you're addicted to? Do you need some support? A psychologist can diagnose, and they don't have a medical degree. Yes, psychologists can diagnose, you're right. That is true, but therapists cannot. You're putting my triggers directly in front of my face, edgiest fate. Do you know what is though, edgiest fate? I'm not going to apologise for that, because you don't have to be watching this, is what I'm going to say to that, respectfully. When she said books, I thought some other things, and I was like, yeah, books. when you read a book. Books. Oh, absolutely. That's what took so long. When one of us was ready, the other wasn't. Oh, that's great to hear. I'm having a hard time with motivation and energy. It's getting better, trying to eat better. Yeah, that's the problem. One might be motivated and the other's not. And it's really hard to stop unless both of you are doing it. I'm really over the moon for you that you've managed to do that. Yeah, energy levels. That's something I really struggle with, because when I had an addiction, I had an abundance of energy. And if I didn't, as soon as I went into my addiction, ping. So yeah, I'm the same as you. I've had to learn to eat better, sleep better, just do the boring stuff to get energy. But yeah, exercise has helped me. Excuse me, Jack Taylor. Hi. What are you excusing yourself for? I assume you're saying excuse me to me or someone else, but isn't it weird? We worked 40 years to pay off a house somebody built in 2 weeks. I know. We're just modern day slaves, let's be real. Slaved by consumerism. It's smart, really. Make everyone work, give them money and tell them they need to buy a lot of crap that we're making them work for so the bigger people can make money. I'm not going to get political, negatively political though. Give it all to God. Yeah, I think spirituality and faith can be really helpful in addiction recovery. There was somebody who I knew who had overcame addiction, and they said, why is everybody who's in recovery like religious or spiritual? And I was like, pretty much. Not everyone, but it's common. Right, I'm gonna go through and see if any so people are just saying little bits and bobs, but I'm just gonna go through and see if anybody's asking questions. Gregory Dowdy, 51 months clean. Love that. That's unreal. I'll be 4 years in February from my worst. I think some of my addictions are made worse by my hormone dysregulation. Opioids give hormone dysregulation if taken for a while. I've heard and used myself. The hormones pregnenolone and progesterone. I'm going to screenshot that. I'm really bad with saying names. Trigancha Main Singh. Because like I never heard that, and I love to learn about anything new about addiction, so I'll look into that. My hormones affect my addiction as well, because I've got bipolar. So that's really interesting. Oh, thanks Sergio for subscribing. I'm just gonna go through and see if there's any. Right. So 1337, your advice lands perfectly on my current life chapter. Do you offer private sessions? I'm not doing private sessions anymore, but are you struggling with addiction or are you in recovery, or is it just self-love? Because I'm doing a free, so anyone who's listening and wants some free support, I'm doing a free therapy group every week. You can give a donation if you want, but I'm absolutely not interested in money. So what I'm doing is telling people to email is, and my work email, let's see. I don't know how you send a message on YouTube. I'm new to it. But basically, if you email us on my work email or comment on this video and I'll give you my email, or any of my videos, my shorts, whatever, just therapy group. But I am saying that people have to have either be in addiction or in recovery, because one of the things that I struggled with when I was coming out of addiction was I was really ashamed and I didn't feel comfortable talking about it. That was my first step to recovery, was talking about it. And I only felt comfortable speaking to other people who'd overcame it. So that is the one thing that I'm saying people like the one requirement, just so that people feel safe and secure to open up. But yeah, I'm doing free therapy sessions. I say, yeah, so just send us an email, because I know that there's a lot of people coming on and there's only so much I can help in live or on shorts like comments. So I want to offer a safer space where we can literally attack addiction at the root. So it's very much based in how to love yourself enough to quit the addiction and have sustainable recovery, and not even be in recovery, just be recovered. I don't even like, I'm not in recovery, I'm recovered. Oh, Janelle, you're 36 too. Yeah, it's a good age, isn't it? She mentioned ketamine. Thanks, 1337. Yeah, I was addicted to ketamine. Been addicted to sugar. Lots of just mind-altering substances. I just was addicted to being off my nut, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie. Janelle, I really like you. We have a lot in common and you're fun. Oh, thank you. I love that feedback. So nice of you to say that. Thank you. It's nice to say nice things, isn't it? And it's because sometimes you don't know, do you? It's always good to have good feedback. Someone please let me know how I can quit heroin. I really need yours help. Right, Ash, I don't know how you say your name, Ash. I'm just going to call you Ash. Ash Singh. I've just said, if you go on my YouTube channel, so I've got shorts, this video, I get a notification anytime somebody comments. So just comment on any of my content. Therapy group, free therapy group. I will help you as best I can to get off heroin. I'm going to be doing encounter groups, therapy groups, and I've got 16. I've done a lot of training. I've overcame addiction. I specialize in addictions therapy. I am a therapist, so I've got a lot of stuff to help you. I couldn't help you get over heroin in one comment on this live, but I absolutely will try my best to support you to get over it. So just comment on any of my things and just say therapy group, I'm interested, and I will tell you how to get a space. But also I would say start doing things like you're doing now, coming on talk, learn about it, connect with people, learn to love yourself. And I've already explained it's not easy to do that, but there's lots of different ways to do that. 1337, you're doing great work out there. The world needs more people like you. Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I just really am passionate about supporting people with addiction because I just know how horrendous it is. Like Ash Singh, I really feel for you. I really do. And also, Ash Singh, there's on a Sunday at 11:11, so 11 minutes past 11. So I like a good number. I'm spiritual. I do a podcast which is recorded live on YouTube, and it's called Sunday Service of Addiction, and that's 11 minutes past 11 in GMT time, by the way, because I'm in England. But if you want to join that, the girl who I co-host with, she's overcame heroin, and also I'm gonna get her to come in the therapy groups so she can help people, so she'll be able to support you as well, because I've not gotten over heroin. I do know a lot about getting over heroin, but she's done it and absolutely smashed the life out of it. I've been addicted to drugs for 10 years and now I've completed 4 months and still my hallucinations didn't go. I feel strongly shame. Yeah, so Mohammed, why don't you join the therapy group? Because it's not just for people who want to get off addiction, it's also to help people in earlier stages of recovery or people who are struggling to sustain recovery, so maybe you keep relapsing. Please do what I said to Ash, comment on any one of my videos on YouTube and I will tell you how to be a part of that. But yeah, hallucinations. So I had drug-induced hallucinations when I came off out of my addiction. I also found out that I had bipolar later on. So you can get drug-induced hallucinations or like alcohol-induced hallucinations, which is absolutely a thing on its own. but also I triggered a bipolar episode, which I didn't know I had bipolar, which was contributing to my addiction. And that was what my hallucinations were from, and they last quite a long time, 4 years. So I don't know if it's worth speaking to a healthcare professional and just flagging that up. There's also I'm not allowed to I'm not going to diagnose, but just I realized that I was having hallucinations and it wasn't normal. And there's a website called Bipolar UK, if you search that on Google, and there's a screening test for bipolar, and it has I think it's about 13 questions that you answer, and it tells you how likely you've got bipolar. It might be worth doing that just to see if there's something else going on. Schizophrenia, there's a lot of things that you can hallucinate from. BPD, you can, so it might be helpful to just see if there's something else. CWAG, that's funny, labels give excuses for the problem. So the book I'm actually writing about talks a lot about labels, so I'm really fascinated in labels. I'll tell you why. So when you get trained as a therapist, at least in my training, we get taught that labels aren't helpful. And because of kind of what CWAG's saying is that we put ourselves in boxes, and then I don't like the term what you said. What did you say? Labels give excuses for the problem. I don't like excuses for the problem. That's not the way I would word it, although I'm not shaming anyone. Like, we're all entitled to our own opinions. But we got taught as a counsellor that labels aren't helpful. They can keep us stuck. That's how I would describe it. And that was my frame of mind. Then, and this has been a journey that I'll take you on. Then I got diagnosed so then I had an addiction. And then what I realised before the end of my addiction is that I think I might have ADHD. And I then went and found out that I do have ADHD. And then I found out I have bipolar autism. So you tend to, if you have one diagnosis, it's common to have what's called a comorbidity of diagnosis, a cluster. So I had 3. I was diagnosed with dyslexia when I was younger. I don't know if that's right, or if it's ADHD. It doesn't really matter. So then when I first got diagnosed with ADHD, I cried. Like, it was such a relief. And this is a common thing that I've heard people talk about. And actually, Roxy Pink and Richard Pink talk about that in their book about ADHD, called Dirty Laundry, and how everyone they speak to accounts the same thing, crying or feeling really emotional and relief when they get the diagnosis. So that didn't fit with what I was taught as a therapist. Then what I started to realise is that, yeah, actually it can keep you stuck. And you can start to over-identify with the label. And so it's a very ropey thing, having a label. So it gives you relief. And I think the reason why it gives you relief is because we already have labels. Any person who's been diagnosed with anything, I'm talking about mental health disorders, will tell you that they've already got labels, whether that's labels other people have given them or labels you've given yourself. So that might be, for me, like lazy or disorganized or rude, talkative, or maybe if you've got anxiety, it's like I'm less than. So you already have these labels. So to have a label which has a wealth of knowledge and research attached to it can be super useful, as long as we're then not just like writing ourselves off. We're thinking, okay, I've got symptoms which I've been diagnosed as. I'm going to use ADHD as the example. There's lots of different diagnoses, but to keep it simple, I've presented as ADHD. So now what I can do is I can learn about ADHD, I can learn about myself, and it gives you a roadmap to get away from feeling stuck. So I don't just sit there and say, I've got ADHD, I can't do anything. I'm like, okay, my brain is wired up differently. And yeah, we can start to do it differently. CWAG, I don't think you're a troll at all. I think, like me, you just got your opinions, and I don't ever want to say that your opinions are wrong. I'm just offering my opinion. I like being challenged. I like discussions, and it's good when people say their opinions, because I know that I'm not right on everything. You know, I'm always learning. So I like it when people challenges, because it either strengthens my own opinion because I disagree, or it opens the door to think of things differently or slightly nuanced. So yeah, troll away. I'm joking, I know you're not a troll. But I appreciate they say that I'm the smartest person you've run into this year. She needs to stop saying these things are wrong with us. I don't think anything's wrong with us. I'm just, I've been diagnosed with a lot of things, and what I've learned is that I've been at a deficit at something. So like in the past, I've been at a disadvantage, and I don't see as anything's wrong with it. I just recognize that I didn't understand myself, and I thought that I was just a shit person, and I didn't understand the mechanics of why I was struggling in life. So I don't see myself as anything wrong. And actually, I think when you start to learn about, and I urge this, if you do get diagnosed or identify with anything, learn about the positives, because we focus on the negatives. But people with ADHD and autism, your brain runs like 7 times faster. People with bipolar are 50% more creative than somebody who typically isn't. There's a TED Talks I watched that said people with ADHD are 300 times more likely to be an entrepreneur. So it's not that there's something wrong with you, it's just your brain is wired up differently, and it's not isn't equipped to not equipped. My brain doesn't fit in with societal norms. And the more I learn about myself, the more I think, yeah, I just need to do things differently. I need to celebrate my strengths. But it was a process of learning, why am I the way I am first? And then learning how to use that to my advantage and scaffold my weaknesses. But Janelle, I've just read that you said there you need some mods to take care of these trolls. I appreciate this signal phrase. I don't think CWAG's a troll. But I appreciate that you're sticking up for us, Janelle. That's really nice. I actually don't mind people trolling, so I have had some real trolls. And it's funny because when people troll you, they think that they're tearing us down, but actually they're just boosting us up the algorithm. So I don't mind it being moderated. The only time I had somebody saying things and it was to another person in the group, and I really didn't like that. But it actually worked out really well in the end. We all ended up bonding. The troll was actually somebody who was really struggling, and they took accountability, and it was honestly one of the nicest lives I've done. Mohammed, am I a graduate? I'm a postgraduate. I've got a master's. I've started doing my PhD, and I had to stop when I became a single mom, and I got sectioned. So it wasn't a label where I'm like, oh, when I have one, I legit got sectioned. I was psychotic. Now I know how to manage my bipolar. So, right, let's see. Labels. I want to read what people are saying about labels, because I think it is a really interesting topic. That's just my opinion on labels as well, because even the healthcare industry is so divided on it, and quite rightly so. It's a bit of a double-edged sword. Right. So, right, how did you deal with your bipolar? Good question. So bipolar is quite a tricky thing to deal with. I learned about it as the first thing. I love to learn about anything that I've got to deal with, addiction, anything, learn about it as much as I possibly can. And what I learned is that, and learning myself, so it wasn't just about what research and evidence and people are saying, but also how does an episode present in us. So with bipolar, because I didn't even know what bipolar was, I thought it was just a moody bitch, and I am at times, but that's more hormonal, not to do with the bipolar. So it's a mood disorder, and it means you can go from really high, excitable, loving life, euphoric. People in bipolar often describe it as a euphoric feeling. I feel high on life, to being very low, and that can go really, really low. Like, we're talking very lowest to low. I can't say it on here because it's social media, but I'm sure you're picking up what I'm putting down. And that's type 2 bipolar. I've got type 1, so that high can then like really take off into psychosis. And it's like a scale. And what I've realized is you usually either okay, so okay is in the middle, we're good, is in the middle. And then what you've got is you're going up or you're going down. And it's like a seesaw. And you tend to like keep going up or keep going down. Now, everybody experiences shifts in moods. Everybody feels low and rubbish at times. That is life. That is human. Everybody feels defeated, deflated, depressed, horrible, low mood. I'm not talking about clinical depression. I'm talking about just like, I feel like life is rubbish. Life is hard. And everybody feels really positive and high on life and thriving. So this is normal, but bipolar's outside of that. So for me, to keep myself in it, is I notice that if I'm coming out of okay, like normal, chill, life's neither here nor there, content, and I start traveling up, I need to bring myself back into this bracket, start feeling content. So for me, I've had to learn loads of techniques. So that looks like, for me, everyone's different. Grounding, mindfulness, slowing down, breathing, trying to get in my body, trying not to let my thoughts get away. And I also take medication for sleep, because as soon as I stop sleeping, and bipolar stops you from sleeping, as soon as I stop sleeping, that's when I can go into psychosis. And like anybody who doesn't sleep, you're risking psychosis. So yeah, I have sleeping tablets for a couple of weeks, and that works for me. And if I'm going low, I heavily lean into self-care. I'm so incredibly kind to myself. I make sure that all my responsibilities go to bare minimum. I reach out for support. Yeah, I just love myself to death, so that I don't go down into real depression, like scary depression. Because the problem is, I'm trying to think about how to word this because I'm on social media. I was in a position on both sides where I was nearly wasn't here to do this talk. And one, because I was like psychosis and the voices were telling us that I needed to do crazy things. And on the other end of it, I was so low that I did not want to be here doing this live video. And I didn't want to be here to do anything, if you know what I mean. So yeah. Ashira, I never did heroin, but my advice as an addict, reach out for help, go to medical professionals, addiction centres. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I reached out for support, and it's so scary doing that, because one, you're really saying, I'm doing this, I'm stopping. That's hard, because you've got that little voice in your head which is saying, I want to do H, I don't want to stop. And also, it's really shameful. It feels awful. Like, it's not something to be ashamed of, and it's not something that anybody should ever feel ashamed of. 100% shouldn't. But I feel like most addicts can relate to this. You feel like you just feel really shit about yourself, and going and telling people, like, tail between your legs, like, I've got an addiction and I can't stop, is honestly the most scary thing to do. It was for me, and it's painful. Like, you just feel like, because you hate your addiction that much and you're shaming yourself and you can't stop. And it's addiction thrives in secrecy. I don't know many addicts who are like addiction proud. I know some people have got to the point where they're like, fuck it, I don't care what people think, it's cat's out the bag, but they still don't like that about themselves, and it's really hard to do that. But honestly, it is the best thing to do, because addiction thrives in secrecy, and clearly we can't do it by ourselves if we're not stopping and successfully staying sober or clean, we clearly can't do it by ourselves, and there's a point we've got to accept that. Now, I'm not saying that other people can't do it by themselves, but if you're like me, I needed support. And for me, it wasn't support with services because I knew all the stuff. It was support with people who were like, I'm going to help you be accountable. I'm going to help you. I'm going to love you. I'm going to just like, one thing I did as well, I asked my family, who I told that I had an addiction, I said to them, I've got an addiction, I'm struggling to stop. Can you do something, and can I buy some drugs tests off Amazon, and will you do a drugs test with us every 3 days? So I first of all started going to my dad's house to do it. Then I started doing it over FaceTime, and I did that for as long as it took us to get to the point where I didn't need someone to hold us accountable. And it's not about doing the drugs test per se, where that might not work for other people. It might do, like it helped me, but what that is, like the technique is doing something that holds you accountable. So in AA meetings or NA meetings, you have a sponsor. Do you know what I mean? So something where it's helping you, or just putting barriers in the way, something to do with circuit breaks. So when you're like, I want to go back and relapse, basically. We call it lapse if it's just a short one, but I want to use the drug. Say we're talking about heroin, let's use that to make it simple. I want to use heroin again, and I've had 3 days sober, or I've been sober half a day, whatever, for 3 months. Put in roadblocks to act as circuit breakers, so you have a chance to have some rational thought, because with addiction, we're leading with our emotional part of the brain. It's our limbic system that we're using, and what we need to do is engage our rational part of our brain, which is our prefrontal cortex, and we do that by thinking rationally. Now, if you put a roadblock in the way, aka I know I've got to do a drugs test, that instantly gives you that split second to start thinking rationally and do different. Or maybe it's that I don't know, I've got to go to see my drugs worker tomorrow. Also, oh my god, I can't believe I haven't said this, with heroin, are you on methadone? There's substitutes, so you can get people to wean you down. Again, this is where I wish you should come along to Sunday service of addiction, because my friends got off heroin successfully, but you do what Janelle said, reach out for support, because heroin's really difficult to get off, and there's ways that they can help you and support you get off it with medications and different things. Because going cold turkey off heroin, the thing is, it's physically addictive. So I had to get off ketamine, that's psychologically addictive, but alcohol and heroin is a different kettle of fish. So don't have any shame that you're struggling. Don't anybody have any shame if you're struggling to get sober. It's fucking hard. But reach out for support. So thanks, Janelle, for answering, because, well, I have to go. It was lovely meeting you. I hope to see you on live again. Bye, Janelle, if you've not already gone. I appreciate you just showing up if you've already gone. Thank you anyways. Thank you to everyone who's joining in. Right, I lost everything because of drugs, degree, wife, business. I'm really sorry to hear that, Mohammed. I'm really sorry to hear that. And I suppose that's made it really even harder. Are you sober, Mohammed? Did you manage to get clean from drugs? I wouldn't wish addiction on my worst enemy. There's so much stigma around it, and it's like, no, who would... I find it really annoying that people shame people for addiction, when I'm like, who would actively choose that? Like, when you're knee deep in addiction, it's not a nice place to be, especially when you're losing things. I'm so sorry about that, Mohammed. I'm interested to know. Yes, 4 months. Oh, you said that before. Well fucking done. And do you know what's really great about what you're doing, Mohammed? Is even though you've lost everything, even though you didn't finish that degree, even though your relationship broke down, your business broke down, you still chose to get sober. Like, hats off to you. Like, that is phenomenal. Honestly, like, absolute mad admiration for you. And honestly, I really hope that you manage to build yourself back up. And I have every faith that you will. Because honestly, I've had to build myself up from the ground, and and you know what it is, when you keep going and you keep striving forward, and then you start to do it, you feel invincible, because if you can do what you're doing right now, like, you can do anything. So my hope for you, and it's certainly how I feel, and a lot of people who I know is in recovery, is that you come out the other side, or that you're already there. Hopefully you're already there, and you're just mad proud of yourself, and you just appreciate everything. But yeah, well done for that. I don't like saying well done because it's like juvenile, but yeah, respect. You're truly a blessing, and that is why God will bless you forever. Thank you. I really appreciate that. That's a really nice compliment. Thank you. By the way, I'm Kyle Singh. I'm just logged in on my mum's YouTube. She's Ash Singh. Oh, hi, Kyle. Kyle, did you get what I said about the group that you can join, the free addiction group? Because I think you should join. Absolutely go to services as well, but come along. I just think as much support as you can get in as many different ways. Yeah, that voice does play in your head. So I said this quite a few times, but one of the techniques that I get clients to do, and I did myself, is name it. Think of it like an alter ego, because then you can start to rationalize with it. You know how I said before, we need to involve our prefrontal cortex, which is the part of our brain which is responsible for rational thinking. So if you name it, you can start to rationalize with it. So I'll give you an example for myself. Again, if you've watched my lives before and I've said this, I'm sorry to bore you, but here I go. So I called my addiction, or my addictive thoughts, I suppose, I called it Trashly, because I'm called Ashley and I get very trashy when I'm under the influence. And I called it Trashly, and by giving it an alter ego, whenever that thought crept in, when I was in recovery, I could just say, whoa, Trashly, not now, let's do something different. Or Trashly, what's triggering you? You're feeling like you want to use. Why do you want to use? Let's explore what's going on. And often it's because I'm stressed, or because I'm around things which trigger is. Mohammed, the scary thing is that I didn't feel the time passing, and one day just saw my mum from young to very old, and I didn't give attention to reality. Yeah, I really understand that. And it's sad, isn't it? It is. I've got to say, and like, this is, look, honestly, I'm not talking for you here. I'm talking about my experience. But this is what me and my co-host on the podcast always say to each other. Now I'm out of it, so I'm nearly 4 years sober. And she's like been out of it for a good chunk as well. We always talk about how appreciative we are of the life that we've built back up, and how appreciative we are of the relationships we've got in our life now. So I didn't get to enjoy pregnancy. I didn't get to enjoy the first, realistically, 2 years of my son's life, because the first year I was relapsing, the second year I was in recovery. It was hard, and I never get that back. And I try to, like, I'm so hyper aware like you are of what the time I've lost, that I absolutely cherish everything in my life. I cherish the relationships I've got. I cherish the house I'm living in. I cherish the life that I've got. I cherish being addiction free. I cherish the planet Earth, other people, just everything. And I've got to a place where I'm so in love with life now that if I had to do that life again to feel the level of joy and contentment that I feel now and peace, I would 100% do it. So I really hope that you're either in that place ideally, or if not, that you get to that place. And there's a lot of people who I know who have. No, can you please guide me on how to, but I will first comment on one of your videos. Just comment, what was your name? Kyle. Just comment and I will give you my email address. I just don't know how to type a comment in here. And just send us an email and I can give you a quick phone call and we'll organise it, etc. I even started getting seizures with the withdrawals and raw stuff from heroin. So this is why you need a survey. Have you gone on? Yeah, that's normal. Like that, it's not everybody gets seizures, but because it's physically addictive, your body is your body relies on it it's chemically addictive. So you're in a different kettle of fish to just addiction, like psychological addiction. It's physical and psychological. But what we'll do, Kyle, is I'll give you a phone call. So I'll give you my email address on the video. I don't want to be putting I don't want to be exchanging numbers. But what I'll do is then I'll email you and we'll organise a phone call or a Zoom meeting or something, WhatsApp summit. We'll work it out together and I'll talk you through the next steps. We'll get a plan in place on how you are going to tackle this. The main thing is you need to want it. So, and it really sounds like you do. And then you just need the right support. You need to, I'm just going to help you. I will help you to help yourself because I can't do it for you, but I can certainly give you the right tools and point you in the right direction. But I'm really tired, so I'm gonna go to sleep. Thanks for everyone who's joined. If you're watching it on catch up, thank you for listening to us drivel on for 86 minutes. I'm gonna be on every weekday, and this is GMT time, so England. So Google it if you're not in England on what the conversion is. But I'm gonna be on it like just after 10 o'clock in the morning and 9 o'clock at night. Oh, you're welcome, Mohammed. Good luck. And yeah, Mohammed, if you'd like to join the group, absolutely feel free to do what I said and comment on a video. But if not, you're absolutely smashing it in spite of everything. And that's what I think about myself now. I'm like, I got sober in spite of me, like, of everything. So mad respect and respect to everyone. Bye.